And I will just tell you, when you are feeling those labor pains and someone is offering you relief, it's very hard to say no to that. I know that women do, they have natural, unmedicated births in the hospital, and I am, I think that is amazing. And it obviously can be done. Hi, and welcome back to April's Homemade. This is part 2 of my 9 birth stories. If you missed part 1, go and watch it. I will link it. And thanks for joining. Hit that like, subscribe, and let's get right to the story. So I stayed home with my second birth. I stayed home for a good while. When I got to the hospital, I was about 5 centimeters, so that it actually went much better this time. And this baby boy ended up being 9 pounds 3 ounces. So I got to the hospital, I was about 5 centimeters, and I was really thankful for that. I was really, really thankful. I had kind of a positive mindset, which is so helpful. So helpful when you're in labor. They were wanting me to get in the bed and they wanted to monitor the heartbeat. I was this time I was a little bit like trying to get them to hold off on the bed because I do not like to deal with labor contractions in laying down in a bed. But they did get me in the bed. They got me hooked up to the IV again, but thankfully that was not pulsating with pain. I did start to struggle just being in the bed, dealing with the contractions. So the doctor would come in and say, do you want some Novocaine? And it's a drug. And I kind of like held her off, but she kept asking. And I will just tell you, when you are feeling those labor pains and someone is offering you relief, it's very hard to say no to that, which is one reason why I started having home births and honestly, I struggled to be strong enough to say, no, I'm not going to take that medication. I know that women do, they have natural, unmedicated births in the hospital, and I think that is amazing. And it obviously can be done, but at least when I had my hospital births, I struggled with that. So eventually I took the Novocaine, and that helped with the labor pains a lot until the labor got even harder. And then I and then the anesthesiologist came in, and I accepted the epidural again, and it did go a lot better this time. I was very blessed. I did end up laying there the whole night. I wouldn't say I felt great, but the pain this time was very minimal, and I did throw up a few times, but my husband was able to sleep in the chair throughout the night while I was in labor. Um, and then in the morning, around 8 a.m., told me that it was time to push this baby out. And I was really thankful because there was actually a nurse midwife there, and she ended up being there while my son Brian was born, and she was very encouraging, and I was able to push him out pretty easily, and I had learned how to push at that point, which is so helpful. The epidural just slowly coming out of my system as he was being born, and that is just perfect because you can feel enough to get some good pushes out. And he was born fairly easily, even though he was 9 pounds 3 ounces. And the midwife who was there, she saw him and just immediately put him on my chest. And there were a lot of doctors in there. There were a lot of people in the room. The midwife was kind of like, I just remember her saying, "Oh, he looks so good. He looks so good." And I could tell that she was actually kind of telling these doctors and nurses, he doesn't need to be sent away. He looks great. She was kind of like confirming it. And so that was a huge blessing. The birth went much more smoothly. And I remember lying in the hospital bed in the night while my husband was sleeping, and I was just thanking God that this was going a lot better. I just remember praying the whole night, like, thank you, Lord, thank you for just everything going smoothly. No one's telling me the heartbeat is a problem, or I'm just laying here. Waiting for my baby. I am not in horrible pain. And so that birth was honestly, probably just one of the best hospital births you can have. After my son was born, I definitely thought a lot about how beneficial it was that I had stayed home for a long time during his labor. And so I thought, maybe I should just stay home the whole time. So I became a lot more interested in home birth at that time. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up. Subscribe so that you do not miss the other birth stories that are coming. And I'll see you soon.